hit record on this, do want to let you know that we are recording this session and we'll be sharing it out later in our newsletter and also on our website. Our recordings are always available on our website if you're ever looking for information on past sessions. Today's session is going to be about pitching a proposal for the ESSER III funds. So we're excited to share this material with you today. I want to tell you a little bit about CAP, Colorado After School Partnership is a statewide network that supports after school and summer learning in Colorado. And we're part of a 50-state network. So the exciting part about that is we bring resources from other states here to Colorado to share with all of you. And it's a wonderful network of people that believe in the power of after school and summer learning. And so we're here to support policies that support out of school time learning, partnerships. We work on sustainability and quality within those learning opportunities. A reminder that we are recording today's session, and we'd love it if you would share your name and organization in the chat so we know who all is here. So we're going to go ahead and get going here. So I'm sure you've heard about ESSER III. It is the biggest opportunity since 21st century expansion. On March 11th, the American Rescue Plan was signed into law, and it's allocating $122 billion to the public education, through the elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds. That is ESSER III. So this is the third round of these funds. This is an incredible opportunity, and we have an opportunity to reimagine the future for our youth here in Colorado. With these funds, we can take an enormous step closer to reaching every kid in Colorado through high quality out of school time learning, and doing it in a way that engages the whole communities, all of our communities. And so for reference, the current cohort for 21st century is 5.75 million. And so we're looking at 1.17 million coming in for after school. Well, not all for after school and summer, but additional funds coming in. 23.4 million must be spent on summer activities and after school. And that's through the states. And we're going to get into the breakout here in a second. With our next slide here. Okay, so this is how the breakout looks. So let's start. So it's 1.17 billion is coming to the Colorado Department of Education. We're going to start with the 10% that's staying at the state level. That's what's in red. So that's 116.6 million is going to be at the state level. And these include 3 state level reservations for activities and interventions that respond to students' academic, social, and emotional needs and address the disproportionate impact of COVID-19 on underrepresented student subgroups. So that's actually language from the law. You'll see there's some breakouts. There's 5% of the total will be for evidence-based interventions aimed specifically at addressing learning loss. So this includes summer learning, summer enrichment, extended day, comprehensive after-school programs, or extended school year programs. And then there's a 1% breakout for evidence-based summer enrichment programs, and another 1% that's going to go to comprehensive after-school programs. So you're going to hear the term evidence-based a lot, comprehensive a lot. This is what is in the language. So when you are working on your proposal, you want to talk about how you are evidence-based, what your work does that is considered evidence-based, as well as comprehensive programming. And a state may use up to 0.5 to 1% of its total ESSER funds for administrative costs. So that is everything going to the state level. Now let's take a look at the school district allocation, which is in blue. 90% of these funds are going to our local education agencies, or LEAs. And this is to help meet a wide range of needs arising from the coronavirus pandemic. So this includes reopening schools safely, sustaining safe operation, addressing students' social, emotional, mental health, and academic needs. So there's a wide range of things that this can be spent on, but you'll see that 20% must be spent on learning loss. So that's 210 million must be spent on learning loss. And that's really the area where we're going to focus today. So I'm going to pause there, let you look at this graph and see if there's any questions, comments. Oh, repeat the number of administrative costs. So for the state level, they can use up to 0.5 to 1% of its total funding for administrative costs. I don't have the breakout here for the school district costs for administration, but we'll get that for you. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next slide. So now that you see how it is broken out, let's talk about what the law says. So this is exact language from the law. And this is why this is an exciting time, because I had said before that 20% of the funds going to the school districts must be used to address learning loss. So it says specifically implementation of evidence-based interventions such as summer learning or summer enrichment, extended day, and comprehensive after-school programs. So this is all of you. This is where you fit in. It can also go to extended school year programs. You know, again, there are other activities, but the language specifically says planning and implementation of activities related to summer learning and supplemental after-school programming, addressing learning loss, and addressing the needs of children from low-income families, children with disabilities, English learners, racial and ethnic minorities, students experiencing homelessness, and foster care youth. So again, if you are a program that serves these youth, you're going to want to talk about that because this is specifically called out in the language of the law. So again, 20% must be spent on addressing learning loss. That's 210 million. So I'm going to give you a link here. Well, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you a link to our website, which has all the information from today's presentation, as well as data that you can use in your proposals. There's a link to the school district breakout and how much ESSER III funds the school districts are getting by school district. So you can look and see specifically what your school district is going to receive. So you have an idea of how much funding they're going to get. And is there a limit on indirect costs? Anna, I'm not totally, I don't know what it is. I'm sure there is, but let me find out. And what I'm going to have you do is actually share your email with me so that I can get that back to you. Okay, so let's talk about timing. Thank you. This talk about timing. So CDE received the funds. They received 2/3 of the funds, and the remaining third they will receive once they submit their plan to the U.S. Department of Education. Then there is an application that is out right now for the LEAs that is due on March 23rd. It's a preliminary application, and so it's an intent to use the funds. It talks about some of the assurances, but it's not the complete application. The complete application is due March 24th of 2022. So that is why right now is the time when you're going to want to start to engage with your LEAs and your schools so that they will consider you into their funding plan, into their final applications. The deadline for final spending is September 30th of 2024, so the support can cover these periods here. Some of the other things that are happening right now, the Colorado Department of Education is developing guidance for the LEAs on ESSER III funds use. They're developing a toolkit for them and a plan of how to, additionally, the Department of Education is also developing a plan on how to obtain stakeholder feedback. So stakeholder feedback is required for ESSER III funds. So the Department of Education is going to be reaching out to all of you and to us to learn about what we think makes sense for these funds and what kind of programming we think is going to be helpful for learning recovery. And additionally, in the toolkit, there's going to be a section on after school and summer programming, factors to consider when starting up a program, what the evidence shows to be best practices. So there is going to be guidance given to the LEAs around that. They do talk about partnership as well. Also, what's happening right now is school districts are deciding how they're going to spend their ESSER III funds. And so that's why right now is the time to start reaching out. And also CAP, that's us, is advocating at state, regional, and local levels for learning loss, summer, and after school funds to be invested in community partnerships. So that is something that we are talking a lot about the importance of working with your community organizations when it comes to learning loss recovery and summer and after school planning. I'm going to pause there, see if there's any questions. Okay, so our next slide. Okay, so now is the time, as I said. This opportunity requires coordinated advocacy at all levels across Colorado. 90% of the funds are going to be in the hands of the school districts, which requires local action. Your community connections and relationships with the schools of the kids that you serve are going to be critical. We encourage you to follow these steps as you're thinking about reaching out to your LEAs and your school leaders. So first, you're going to start by building your case, coming out with a reach out plan, educating your stakeholders, and keeping the conversation going. So we're going to go through each one of these. So building your case. Before taking action, make sure you've developed a strong understanding of this opportunity. So these are, again, we're going to have a website at the end that's going to have links to all these documents, but you're going to want to know how much your district is receiving, what the guidelines are for ESSER III use, and understanding what evidence-based strategies are. And there's many studies that are out there that can guide you in that, because when you put your proposal together, you're going to want to talk about how you're fitting within those strategies. You're going to want to think, let's see, how does your organization address student academic, social, and emotional needs? How can your organization support the district and the school goals? So you want to show how your organization is going to help with this learning loss and help these schools. They can't do it alone, and you know how to do this work. And so you're going to want to talk about that. So these are the big questions to consider and document as you're putting your proposal together. So you served. Who do you serve now? How can you expand? Who can you serve where and how many students? How does your organization address the disproportionate impact of COVID on underrepresented student subgroups? You're going to want to think about your quality. How do you measure quality? Does your program staff have certified teachers? Does your staff get trained? Are they trained in youth-centered approaches? Do you offer mentorships? Again, we're going to have all this for you at the end, so it'll be listed out for you. But these are just things to think about. Does your program offer certifications or any other benefits? And again, thinking about evaluation. Community support and engagement. How does your organization provide essential services and support? So things like transportation, healthy meals for students and families, How did your organization step up to serve families throughout the pandemic? That's an important thing to note as well. And I know all of you did. So talking about how you pivoted during the pandemic to continue to provide support. And also how you're connected to the families and to the communities that you serve. Thinking about operations, how are you currently operating? How are you planning to operate this summer, next school year? Can you be flexible? What is the funding required? What's the cost of your program? So there's just a lot to think about as you're putting your proposal together. And then partnerships, thinking about who do you currently partner with? Museums, sports, arts, other organizations. Can you work in tandem with another organization to have a more robust opportunity? So I'm going to pause the screen share for a minute, and I'm going to turn this over to Elaine, who's going to share a proposal that they are working on. Let's see, make co-hosts. There you go, Elaine.
Good morning, everyone. I am Elaine Minardi. I am Chief Innovator at Colorado Aerolab. We are an educational nonprofit in Kremlin, Colorado, which for you Kentucky and Idaho folks is up in the mountains and ski country. So so excited to see that there are people outside of Colorado joining us today. We are, like I said, a nonprofit serving small rural schools in the northwestern corner of Colorado. We have 4 21st Century Community Learning Center sites right now, and serve about 1,000 students altogether in basically the northwestern corner of the state of Colorado. So our 21st grant is coming to an end. We're at the end of year 3, and in some of our sites wanting to figure out a way to propose some sustainability efforts, and then also to continue some programming for kids that otherwise don't have anything. Our largest district up in this part of the state is 400 students K-12. So I wrote this proposal specifically for a school that has 175 students K-12. So a very small school, which by extension means very small, which means teachers wear lots of hats, which means anything that we can do to help them is always very, very beneficial for them and for us. And they're always eager to take advantage of those opportunities. So I just wanted to share this simple proposal. We were at our global HQ here in Kremlin, Colorado, thinking about how we might use these ESSER funds or help districts use these ESSER funds because administrators are so stretched for time. We thought we needed to take a proactive approach. We're very much in business development mindset here at Aerolab, and thinking that we wanted to approach the districts rather than waiting for them to come to us or waiting for a grant RFA to come out. We wanted to say, go to a district that we know the leadership, that we've had a partnership with, and say, we know you're getting some of these ESSER funds. We know it might be hard for you to figure out how you want to use those just based on all the other work that you have to do. So here's a proposal that we've created to give you an idea of what we can provide for you and how this money can help your students in an after-school type of setting. So it's a 2-page proposal, really simple. It's got a very high-level, simple budget to go along with it. If you're interested in actually seeing the document itself, I'm happy to send that to you. I will go ahead and try and make it a little bit bigger. Is that scaling up a little bit for you guys? Okay. So I just gave a little bit of background. Like I said, we have already been working with these districts and this leadership, so they know us, but a little bit of information. given the dates we're proposing for school year 21-22, giving a little bit of scope of work. Whoops, get the right, there we go. And then these are the programs. Our schools up here are on 4-day school weeks. And so we have the benefit of having a full day on Friday to offer programming in addition to the after school days. But you could still do the same things if your school's in session 5 days a week. And focusing a lot on academic support, as Megan was talking about that learning loss. Academic tutoring is one of the evidence-based strategies that you can put into your proposal. And then we're very STEM focused. So we like to do a lot of robots and 3D printing and coding, esports, any kind of drones, any kind of electronic gadgets. Our kids love those. And then we also throw in things like SAT prep. Although the whole question of whether those tests will be required by schools anymore is kind of up in the air. Still never hurts. Students are probably still wanting to take those for the scholarships and for the admissions to colleges that they're planning to apply for. Entrepreneurship, business development, and then those essential skills, those professional skills. Our superintendents and principals say that those are super important. Again, all of this is captured in an evidence-based strategy approaches with project-based learning, with inquiry-based learning, with career and college readiness skill building. You'll be able to find all kinds of information to support those strategies. 21st century grants are broken into 2 big categories, instructional costs and then also support costs. So instructional costs meaning those that are essential for delivering the program and including personnel. We hire our teachers from within the districts, and so it's extra pay for teachers who are already there on site, who have already built relationships with the students that they're serving, and really helps in teacher retainment and teacher recruitment that the district can offer a little more incentive pay for them. Some purchase services, our grants provide snacks and transportation and food, lunches and breakfasts on those Fridays when students are not in session. So that is another area that you can build into your proposal. USDA is offering free lunches for this entire school year. So take advantage of that and put that into your proposal. We have some PD travel, supplies. We've put in some money for books and curriculum, including any kinds of online platforms or software. Some equipment. We have already purchased a lot of equipment through our grant, but if you're in a position where you need more, then put a little bit in there. And then our support costs, those are for any of those administrative costs behind the scenes. For us as a nonprofit, we will employ a program director as well as some administrative support services for bookkeeping, for facilities, for just all of the preparation behind the scenes that goes on. We'll be doing all of our own curriculum development and training in-house. So if you can put a 0 anywhere in your budget for them to say, we're taking care of that, that's always a bonus. And then traveling. We do have significant distances, 60 to 100 miles between our sites. So we need to build in a little bit of money for traveling. So it's a simple proposal for an after-school program for 1 year. We could bring that in at about $92,000 and even less in some cases if you already have your equipment and supplies in place. But I wanted to just offer that to you. It was a shift in mindset for us to say, we don't need to sit back for the schools to come to us. We can go to them and we can promote our services and we can say to them, we want to be your partner. We can help you provide these programmings. We have expertise and skill. Please take advantage of us as one of your community partners. So again, I'm happy to share that with anybody. Just drop your email into me in the chat to me and I'll be happy to send that to you.
Thank you, Elaine. Have you already done some outreach with this, or can you talk about your strategy and next steps?
Sure. We have 2 districts in particular that we have already been partnering with that are not continuing as a 21st site. So we will schedule kind of that year-end closeout meeting with them and to say thank you for allowing us access to your students. We hope that the programs we've had with you, you've enjoyed them. We know your students have. We do have some qualitative anecdotal data from the students, some quotes from the parents and the teachers, and a whole bunch of pictures from our year-end community engagement event. So we'll make a little video and we'll put those quotes and everything in there. And then to tell them, especially this very small school I was sharing with you, that we can keep going. We need some more funding, and you've got some funding coming in with ESSER, but we can keep going if you want to. And the tricky part with this particular district will be that they're getting a new superintendent and a new principal for the start of next school year. So it will be a process of building on the strengths and the relationships we've already made, but then also trying to bring in some new faces and some new leadership to that. There's another school district that we have just applied for the 21st grant in order to stand up a program just like this in another part of the state. And we've told them that if we don't get that grant, then there's also this possibility of using some of your ESSER money for this. So the superintendent was very excited to see, to have that conversation. We'll know in about a month if we'll receive that grant. But then he says, oh no, if we don't get the grant, we're still moving forward, and let's figure out how to do it with these ESSER funds. So I think my impression is that superintendents especially are very eager and excited for ideas like this, not only for the community partnership aspect, but for help. This particular superintendent, the second one, where we might get a grant for, his district is 250 students, and he's got great programs going on, but he's stretched thin and he needs the additional support. So I think what we've learned during COVID and the pandemic is that partnership is more important than ever. We have so many needs for students to fill, and not a single entity can do it all. So I think there's a lot of school leaders coming to the realization that partnership is key as we all move forward, because we all care about these kids. And so let's use every opportunity we can to do good things.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Do people have questions for Elaine? And Elaine, you said it's okay to share that proposal?
You bet, you bet.
Okay. All right.
So I have one person with an email in the chat. Please feel free, I'll put my email in the chat too. Please feel free to email me later if you would like.
And I shared it in the chat as well.
Oh, perfect, great.
Excellent, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, so that's a great example of building your case. And let me go ahead and resume the slides here. So, and another thing, Elaine, is that you did do some research around how much money your district is receiving. And I think that's helpful to know, because that can be part of the discussion as well.
We did, and we wanted to make sure that the proposals that we put out to them would not exceed or even really come close to what their full allocation would be. We wanted it to just be a portion of it so that they wouldn't feel like they were putting all their eggs into a single basket, that they had some other options available with additional funding.
All right, so you've put your proposal together and now you're ready to share it. So who do you reach out to? So start thinking about school leadership, the schools that you're already connected to, the schools that the youth that you're serving attend. So thinking about who can you talk to at the school level, principals, teachers, perhaps, like thinking about your connections there. Building level staff. Sometimes schools have after school program leaders, connecting with them as well. And then looking at district leadership, so superintendents. In some cases, there may be a BOCES that you could reach out to and talk with about what you have to offer. And also, that can also be a way to scale up your proposal as well if you're thinking you might want to do multiple schools. So thinking about different people at different levels you can reach out to. Local businesses. So do you have partnerships with local businesses for internships or workforce opportunities for kids, for older kids? Chambers of commerce can be advocacy allies. So thinking about local businesses, and then your partnerships. Who do you work with already, and putting that into your proposal, but also getting their support as you're moving forward. And who else? I wanted to open this up for conversation. Who else do you think would be good to reach out to as you're starting this discussion? And people can unmute if they want to add to the list. You've got it covered. Excellent. All right, once you've scheduled a meeting with your local, your school districts, local businesses, and your partners, be prepared for the conversation. We, on the website, again, we have some talking points that you can use that include data around after school and supporting that school community relationship, why it's essential right now, and the data behind the need for it in Colorado. So we have the America After 3 p.m. Report for Colorado, as well as that there's not enough of it. And so supporting the need for more after school opportunities. You may also find that, again, the school districts don't have to partner with community organizations. And so that's why it's important to get it ahead of their final proposals, that their final applications. You may find that schools are going to do this in-house. And so how could you partner with them to enrich what they're doing in-house? So maybe, like you were talking, Elaine, about your STEM opportunities, could that be brought into a school if they decided to do something within their school? How could you supplement it? So that might be another way to partner with them.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, Megan, it's always great when you know, or you can find out, or you know where the gaps are. So in our districts, they didn't have 3D printers, and they actually had never really thought about them in the beginning. But then once we got them there, they're like, oh, these are great. Same thing happened with drones. Kids love drones, but this kid had one at home and this kid had one at home. But as a program, and how can you use that in a classroom setting, the teachers loved it. Same thing with little Ozobot robots. How can you use a robot to tell a history research report? So where you can find those gaps in your schools or in your districts locally and fill those gaps with them, that's a really big bonus.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so final point to make here is that the districts have until March 24th, 2022 to submit their final plans for ESSER III. And so now is the time to start thinking about your proposal and start reaching out and having those conversations. and then to maintain that connection too. So once you make that initial contact, to continue to reach out to them on a regular basis, so that they include you into their plan. So I'm going to pause there and see if there's questions. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to answer them, but I will get an answer for you. So if there's something that you want to know more about, let me know what that is, and we'll be sure to get it sent to you. And then I'm going to stop share for just a minute. I'm going to go to the page that we have created specifically on ESSER III funds, and I'm going to reshare my screen here. Okay, so this is our Leveraging ESSER III funds website here, and it basically is the conversation we just had. So it goes into the steps to creating a proposal, educating yourself. And then there are links to some websites and some data that will be helpful as you're pulling together. This website was created for national resources around ESSER III funds, as well as putting together proposals. So there's a link to that. There's some different studies here. Here's a study on evidence-based considerations for summer learning. And so it gets into details about what that means, and to think about like the size of your program, and balancing academics with enrichment, and what the data is showing works best around those things. So there's several links here that you can use. Also, the final fact sheet on ESSER III funds that talks about, again, the language that's within the grant, and it's highlighted to show where after school and summer learning is part of the language. And here are the questions that we just went through about building your case and how to put your proposal together. So this is what we shared earlier. And then reaching out, thinking about who your partnerships, or who you want to contact to get your proposal together. And we've got this outreach letter as well, a template that can help you draft that email or that letter. So you can use that. And then there are some talking points as you get those calls, phone calls set up, that are just wonderful language to have handy in the conversations, that talks about the funds, but also some of the data in Colorado around the need for after school, creating equity, how we're meeting the needs for families during this time. In Colorado, there are 5 youth waiting to get in for every 1 youth in after school. So this is based on the most recent America After 3 p.m. report. And there's also a data sheet that it goes to around that, if you're looking for more data. And then one more sheet of data here that you can use and you can incorporate in your proposals. So again, this is all here on our website. Kind of scrolling through it quickly. Also, you would probably be interested in here. We talked about understanding what your school district is receiving. So there's a link right on here that takes you to the page that shows the breakout of the funds, and then also the allocations per school district.
Sorry, I'm on a call.
Stop me. Oh, got to mute. There you go. Okay, so this is a by district breakout of the funds. You'll see again that they have 2/3 have already been received, and then the other 1/3 is going to be released once the Colorado Department of Education submits their plan for stakeholder feedback. So I think this will help you all build your proposal and find a way to start reaching out to your LEAs and your school leaders so you can be a part of this planning. All right, I'm just going to share one more slide, and that is our upcoming activities. So, whoops, if I can figure out how to do that. funny how you can do Zoom a million times and it still stumps you. I'll just say that May 27th, we have a presentation in partnership with Colorado 4-H to talk about all they have to offer this summer. They have a lot of really great programming that can be brought into your sites. And so that's on May 27th. And let me see if I can figure out how to share that. There it is. Okay. Yeah, May 27th, we've got Colorado 4-H sharing all that they've got going on this summer. They've got some great resources for all of you, and they're excited to partner with you. And also Colorado Afterschool Partnership has a quality action team survey going out right now just to get a sense of what quality looks like for your programs and what kind of systems you're using. And then I'm going to share a link to our summer activity guides as well as the quality survey here in a minute. All right. That's our presentation, folks. I'm hoping that you'll go visit our website and you'll get lots of materials there that can help you as you put together your proposals. So I'll just open it up to questions or comments. And let me give you these links. There's the quality survey and the May 27th presentation with Colorado 4-H. And make sure you've got the link to our website. Okay. Go get them, everybody. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I'll stay on if anything else comes up.